Good evening and welcome to the Residents Forward Virtual Gala. I'm Marianne Del Monte.
And I'm your new Executive Director, Trish Class, and we will be your co-hosts for tonight.
I've been a resident of Port Washington my whole life. Every day, I am proud to be part of our great town. From our precious waterfront to our vibrant Main Street to our diverse community. Port Washington is a place on Long Island like no other. For the last 20 years, I've been a friend of Residents Forward, sometimes volunteer, sometimes employee, and sometimes collaborator, but always a supporter. This past year, we've all learned to appreciate our homes like we never had before. Many of you may have explored our hometown more in the past 12 months than you ever had prior to 2020. This pandemic has brought renewed gratitude for the outdoors and natural beauty of our peninsula. While we are so lucky to have Port Washington during this time, there are always ways to enhance the gift we've all been given. That's where Residents Forward comes in. They work tirelessly to add beauty to Main Street with gardens and murals, advocate for trails and parks. They've built an island-wide coalition for safe drinking water and have brought environmental education to every elementary classroom. Please consider supporting their work now more than ever. Now I'd like to introduce Residents Forward's Executive Director, Trish Class.
Thank you, Marianne. Tonight's event is different from anything we've ever done. Coming to you virtually was definitely not on my agenda for this year. But we have, of course, found ourselves in an extraordinary time, and we've had to respond with what I think is an extraordinary event. Many of you know that we hold a gala every year to raise funds to keep our organization running. From our gardens to our murals, to our education programs, to our advocacy work, this gala sustains our mission. I'm going to ask you to please pull out your phone or your laptop and visit our homepage to make a donation in honor of tonight's celebration and its honorees.
Tonight, we honor 3 remarkable women: Supervisor Judi Bosworth, Dawn Serignese, and Jane Thomas. You probably know at least one of these women, but we look forward to introducing you to all of them in the next 45 minutes. This celebration promises to engage, encourage, excite, and inspire you about the good work our 3 honorees have done. We will share videos highlighting their accomplishments, always in the service of our town and our community at large.
Our first video features our past president, Betsy Liegi, and our former executive director of 13 years, Mindy Germain. Betsy and Mindy will introduce you to Residents Forward and what our work is all about.
I personally want to welcome you to the first Residents Gala of the new decade. We at Residents Forward are so happy you're with us this evening. For over 50 years, Residents has worked to add beauty, sustainability, vibrancy, and resiliency to our community. We take so much into consideration to improve Port Washington, and your donation tonight makes our work possible. From protecting our drinking water by leading a coalition to stop New York City from reactivating wells, advancing scientific research, and demanding policy actions, to engaging and educating the community with the new Every Drop Counts exhibit at Baywalk Park. We beautify your favorite vantage points with murals, gardens, and planters, breathing vitality into Main Street. And we give a litter bit to stomp out litter with cleanups, advocacy, and a new cigarette recycling program. We have made the lives of commuters like you easier by starting a shuttle to the train station. We've introduced climate education in every elementary classroom in Port Washington. And for our middle and high school students, we've created a signature Youth Climate Summit, the only one on Long Island, with the next one this April. And we are making our beautiful waterfront more walkable and accessible, advocating to protect it from the impacts of erosion and rising sea levels. So we thank you for your generous contributions toward these important efforts that improve the place we call home for today and for decades to come.
Tonight we honor 3 individuals and their leadership, service, and devotion to Port Washington. Town of North Hempstead Supervisor Judi Bosworth improves the lives of each and every resident. Judi has shown me that a strong and wise leader can also be a warm and caring person. She initiated projects to protect and preserve our miles of waterways and scenic shorelines. Dawn Serignese is a firm believer in giving back to the community in which she lives and loves. Through her work with Residents Forward and the Parent Resource Center, she has been a consistent force for good. She also loves to show off our beautiful peninsula through her work at Daniel Gala. Dawn makes Port Washington home. Jane Thomas is Port Washington's Erin Brockovich. Her journey started in her very own backyard, where she worked tirelessly to get our landfill capped to protect all of us. She also helped pass the bottle bill, which has recycled billions of bottles. And today, she works to protect our drinking water through Water for Long Island. Residents Forward honors these 3 incredible women for continually moving us forward.
Thank you, Mindy and Betsy, not only for introducing our honorees, but for your many years of service to Residents Forward and Port Washington. What you just saw is a good sampling of our work in our hometown. You may have enjoyed the splash of color that our planters provide to our Main Street, or perhaps your child or grandchild learned about our drinking water during our 5th grade aquifer program. For 52 years, Residents Forward has continually asked the question, how can we improve our community and the lives of the people who live here? And in 2021, it will be no exception. We recently kicked off our virtual Youth Climate Summit. We plan to paint a mural this summer created by a Schreiber High School student. We launched a new Know Better, Do Better program with the library, and our goal is to host more cleanups this year than ever before. We hope you will join us, either virtually or face-to-face, masked, of course. A community that is engaged and working together is a powerful force.
What Trish said is so true. I've been to countless cleanups on Main Street, working together as a team, tackling a problem that you see every day is something you all should experience. I will see you out there this spring. Now to the honoree videos. Our first honoree, Supervisor Judi Bosworth, has spent 29 years in service for her community. Please enjoy our next video and get to know Judi a little better, not just as the leader of our town, but as the warm, bright, and caring individual that she is.
I met Judi a number of years ago in the landmark diner on Northern Boulevard. She had just been elected to her first term as town supervisor. The first time that Judi and her husband Jay and I had dinner together, I approached the table and I made a statement that there are 2 rules: no politics and no discussion of medicine either. And from that point on, our friendship really grew. Judi Bosworth is one of the most extraordinary women I know. Wrapped up in that package known as Judi, I see the fire of Margaret Thatcher, the fairness and depth of a Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the tenacity of a Golda Meir, the humor of a Carol Burnett, and the compassion and understanding of a Mother Teresa. She considers herself a servant of the people and has proven that by addressing the most important issues facing our town. Congratulations, Judi, from not only myself, but from Residents Forward.
Judi always had a great affinity for issues relating to protecting public health and the environment. As a county legislator and now as our town supervisor, she's certainly expanded her commitment to making a difference for people in Port Washington and all across North Hempstead as well. She's fierce in looking out for protection of the quality of our drinking water. She works closely with our water district officials. She loves our harbors and very supportive of our protection committee for Hempstead Harbor, for Manhasset Bay as well. Certainly her ambition to expand the nature trails and the shoreline trails that we have in our town is certainly part of the legacy that she wants to leave for all of us. Her vision for Hempstead Harbor Park and Bar Beach and making that an even better recreational area for all of us is something I also very much commend her for. She understands the importance of preserving what precious open space we have left, and she really understands that local government can make a huge difference in the quality of life for the people who live in our town.
Judi is willing to step out in front and not only acknowledge a problem, but work for its solution. Judi was very aware that the effort to protect the aquifers had to be an ongoing enterprise. So Judi worked not only with Residents Forward, but a large coalition of other organizations and public officials, and ultimately accomplished the creation of a USGS sustainability study. The work to make this study a reality was groundbreaking.
Judi's been a great partner. She's always there. She's always receptive. She understands the issues. Out of all the issues that she deals with on a day-to-day basis, she keeps in touch with what's happening on the waterfront.
Judi and I met when she was 12 years old, and I was 14, and we were just friends. Sometime while in college, we started dating. She was still finishing her degree. I was in medical school when we got married. So going over all these years and these 60 plus years I know Judi, never imagined she would be doing this. I think with everything she's done, she's been very, very happy and satisfied and focused. There's no question about it. First in her life comes the kids. No question. And then she started getting involved. Whatever she gets involved in, she really goes into 1,000%, but in a very good, clear-cut, focused, rational way. She knows what she wants to try and get done, and she gets it done. She certainly knows the word compromise. Very, very proud of her. I didn't think she would do that. It's hard for me to put into words my feeling. How proud everybody is it's unbelievable. It's been just a wonderful time to see her grow, to see her get involved in so many issues, and some of these issues that may not even affect us now, but certainly would affect my kids and definitely my grandkids or great-grandkids. We're very proud and love you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Judi Bosworth, and I'm the supervisor of the town of North Hempstead. I'd like to thank Executive Director Trish Class, Chairman Kurt Trico, the entire Residents Forward Board of Directors and their staff for honoring me at this year's virtual gala. Though this year's gala certainly looks a lot different than it has in the past, I applaud your incredible efforts to adapt during these challenging times. COVID-19 has had an enormous impact on each and every one of us, residents, civic groups, and municipalities alike. I know we're all looking forward to brighter days ahead. I'd like to once again thank you for this honor today. It's an honor that I accept on behalf of myself and the town council. We've worked so hard over the past several years to ensure that our local flora, fauna, waterways, and water sources are protected and resilient for years to come. It's so important to initiate changes that protect and preserve our environment. I'm so proud to have partnered with Residents Forward on a number of important initiatives, including cigarette butt receptacles, Clean Green Main Street, our beautiful Hempstead Harbor Trail, and North Hempstead Beach Park visioning. Residents Forward is to be commended for continuing their educational initiatives in our local Port Washington schools. It's so important for our children to understand that they are the next generation to play it forward in terms of protecting our environment. I thank you for being such inspiring and positive influences here in the town of North Hempstead. Even in the midst of this pandemic, you've continued your hard work planning important projects that will undoubtedly leave a lasting and positive impact on our local environment. Recently, we at the town were proud to announce a new recycling program designed to properly dispose of number 5 plastics, as well as a new e-waste disposal program for North Hempstead residents. Our Department of Public Works was also hard at work this past year, overseeing the dredging of the pond at Gary Park in Roslyn. The goal of this project was to reestablish native species at the park and remove invasive vegetation, allowing the pond to experience a significant increase in water circulation. Dredging the pond results in a healthier environment for aquatic life and the overall environment. There's still much work to be done to protect and preserve our local environment here in the town of North Hempstead, and we look forward to continuing our partnership with the members of Residents Forward. Thank you again for honoring me at this year's virtual gala. Congratulations to both Jane and Dawn for being honored as well. I've had the pleasure to work with both Jane and Dawn on a number of different projects in Port Washington and throughout North Hempstead, and I'm so proud to share this honor with them. Thank you.
Please enjoy the music of local husband and wife duo Marcy Pasley and Kevin Scully.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good. Fish in the sea, you know how I feel. River running free, you know how I feel. Blossom on a tree, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good. Dragonfly out in the sun, you know what I mean, don't you know it? Butterflies all having fun, you know what I mean. Sleep in peace when day is done, you know what I mean. And this old world is a new world and a bold world for me.
That was wonderful, Marcy and Kevin. Now we'd like to introduce our next honoree. Dawn Serignese is 1 in a million. If you live in Port Washington, chances are you've met or heard of Dawn. Her commitment to volunteerism has positively impacted many organizations in our town. Enjoy this next video.
The great thing about Dawn is that she doesn't have just one role at Residents Forward, she has a lot of roles. She always engages in every activity, and she does it at 1,000%. Dawn has been an ongoing presence on a number of committees, including environmental education as it relates to teaching young children about climate change. She's very involved in parks and trails to make sure that what we're doing in Port Washington makes it more beautiful and vibrant. And she's involved in a lot of visioning efforts as it relates to the waterfront and the place that we call home. There's so many things that I love about Dawn. She's so caring and committed, and she's an incredible role model. She doesn't just talk the talk, she really is so concerned with the environment and for the people who live here, and she does everything she can in order to support both. Dawn, you're not only a colleague of mine on Residents Forward, you're not only my neighbor, but I'm so proud to call you my friend. Congratulations.
Dawn and I met in 2002, 18 years ago, at the Parent Resource Center. We were both young mothers in Port Washington, and then our friendship just kept on growing and growing. Also over the years, she has taught me wonderful things about how we could do good for our environment. She's just an inspiration to me. Dawn has improved my life, and she really touches the people around her, and she really has definitely improved Port Washington. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy you're being honored tonight. I know how much you love our town, and I hope you enjoy this honor, and I hope you realize you deserve a lot of credit for all you've done for Port Washington. I'm very proud of you.
Dawn is one of those moms that you always has your back and always know you can call for her for anything. She has the biggest heart, which I imagine anyone who's met her knows that, but she also is the type of friend who would do anything for you without expecting anything back ever. She does not do anything in the hopes of recognition. She does it because she cares. She is someone that recognizes that you have to dust yourself off, get up, and create the change. You could hope that someone else will be doing it, but at the end of the day, you can only look in the mirror and look at yourself and say, did I make a difference? And Dawn makes a difference every day.
Dawn has a real deep knowledge of Port Washington. Her grandfather built a house down in Manor Haven at the turn of the century. She's had aunts and uncles that have lived in town, and you can see that she has a deep affection for Port Washington. I remember the night I met Dawn. It was a beautiful summer night. She really just lit up the room. We had a conversation. My friends were obnoxious. Dawn really just verbally just diced them up when they tried to get cute or funny, and then I thought, wow, she can really handle herself. After Dawn came to visit me in the city a few times, I came to Port Washington to visit her. I couldn't believe the beauty of Port Washington, and I knew that this was going to be a place we were going to live and spend our lives together. And through her work with residents, she gets to improve the parks and the common areas that she grew up loving and experiencing. And her focus now is really to move Port Washington forward so that the future generations can experience a better Port Washington. I just want to say, Dawn, I'm really, I couldn't be more proud, and I love you, and the boys love you, and we really appreciate what you've done for us as a family, and also what you're doing for Port Washington. Congratulations.
I am thrilled to be honored alongside Supervisor Judi Bosworth and the amazing Jane Thomas. Thank you. And thank you for the hard work and dedication of the Gala committee members who have made this evening happen and to make it so special. This past year has offered challenges and tragedy. Residents Forward has learned to pivot and move forward. This gala is a testament to the perseverance and drive of Residents Forward as an organization and as a collective of extraordinary, dedicated individuals. I cannot name everyone because all who volunteer and take time away from their family is what drives Residents Forward, pun intended. I am a true believer in giving back to your community. When I first returned to Port Washington 19 years ago, I was introduced to the Parent Resource Center, and so began my journey in volunteerism. I was drawn to the spirit and enthusiasm of the people I met there, giving their time and resources to work together for ideas bigger than themselves, with the goal of making someone else's life a little easier or more joyful. As my children grew, my role as a volunteer evolved within the community. From the Parent Resource Center to co-chair of the Nutrition Committee for 12 years to board member of Residents Forward. Why do I volunteer? I love Port Washington. That is why I volunteer. And I see opportunities to contribute, and I act on them. We all want what is best for our community. I pursued working with Residents Forward because the organization is a tried and true platform with a great team in place ready to take on the challenge and doing what is best for our town. I work with our dedicated members to improve Port Washington for future generations. As a Residents Forward member, I have made good friends and played a part of the process of improving our community, and for that I am grateful. I want to highlight some of the initiatives I am proudest of. Some need funding, so if you would like to hear more about ways to support any of these, please contact our office. Residents works diligently to preserve and protect our aquifers by holding a seat on the Western Long Island Aquifer Committee. We committed to working with the town on the North Hempstead Beach Park Steering Committee that includes visioning of the beach park and creation of shoreline trails along Hempstead Harbor Park to Roslyn. Residents also served on the BW Zone Steering Committee, helping to work on the visioning and planning of our waterfront that includes the town dock, Sunset Park, and our waterfront multi-use trails. Our environmental education programs positively impact all students in the Port Washington School District. Our newest and very inspiring and successful Youth Climate Summit kicked off on February 27th with an amazing keynote address given by an esteemed lecturer from the Yale School of the Environment. We are best known for our beautification programs and projects, including Give a Little Bit, Clean Green Main Street, and the Port Washington Mural Project, and Port Washington Blooms, all working to beautify our town. This summer, we will unveil our latest mural art project at the Schreiber High School, and we are working on our Climate Awareness Garden, which is ongoing, as well as work with the National Park Service and our other local organizations to improve the Guggenheim Preserve. I am so grateful to be honored and to work with this great group of people. So I call on you, Port Washington residents, get involved, join a meeting, give a suggestion or a cause or an issue. We are an expanding enterprise with a bold vision of the future. Our mission statement is to inspire and unify the residents of Port Washington to protect and advance the vibrancy, resiliency, sustainability, and beauty of our peninsula. Come join us. Thank you.
You're broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round, and you can't find the fighter, but I see it in you, so we're gonna walk it out and move mountains. We're gonna walk it out and move mountains. And And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, high like the waves. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, you, for you. When the silence isn't quiet and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe, and I know you feel like dying, but I promise you we'll take the world to its feet and move mountains, bring it to its feet and move mountains. And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, you, for you. All we need is hope. For that we have each other, and for that we have each other. And we will rise, oh, we will rise, rise like the day. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I will rise 1,000 times again. And we'll rise up, high like the waves. We'll rise up, in spite of the ache. We'll rise up, and we'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you, for you. We'll rise.
Jane Thomas is a shining example of grassroots activism. Her story is a good one, and we know you'll be inspired by it. Please enjoy.
Jane moved into Port Washington in the late 1970s. We were in adjacent communities, both of which overlooked the landfill. Her son was 8 months old, and she looked out, and there was this huge hole in the fence between her house and the landfill. And she said, "Why is this happening?" People were concerned because the methane came along and was ignited by the pilot light on water heaters and caused many explosions. That got people's attention, to know that that pile of garbage over there was impacting on their homes. We were not professionals. We were young marrieds with little kids and concerned about our community. And none of us had the backgrounds, but we had the passion and caring. And the citizens group was then organized and became the Citizens Advisory Committee on the landfill. I think by looking at people like Jane, they are an inspiration to the younger people. What can they do to make a difference in their community? Thank you, Jane. You're wonderful. And thank you for being our honoree this evening.
I met Jane Thomas when I first joined the League of Women Voters 3 years ago. I was asked where my interests lie, and I mentioned environmental issues and registering voters, and that was it. Jane grabbed me and asked me what I was doing every other Wednesday for the rest of the year, and she was referring to Water for Long Island meetings, which she made me join immediately, and I agreed because I was intimidated. To me, Jane embodies all of the traits that we want our children to have, especially our daughters. Jane insists that you speak up and give your opinions. She helps to make you push yourself through difficult situations. She bounces back quicker than anyone I've ever met, and I strive to have her who gives a damn attitude one day. Jane, I look up to you as a leader, and at the same time, I rely on you as a friend.
Jane was a very active member in the CAC, and one of the truly remarkable things they were able to do, the CAC was able to get Mario Cuomo to promise that if he won the election, he would sign the Long Island landfill law. And that law actually led to the closing of almost all landfills on Long Island. Jane, in her environmental activism, took on a number of issues that were very meaningful to her. The bottle bill was a highlight for her, but more recently now she has tended to focus on issues of water. And I think she said it best when she said, "Water has become my life." Congratulations to you for being a recipient of this impressive recognition of your lifelong work.
There's a story about my mom that I love, which is when she was first in the workforce. Didn't look which way she was going across the street, got hit by a cab, and flew through the air like 30 feet. She basically landed, got up, brushed herself off, and was fine. That kind of sums up my mother, I think. Not looking which way she's going, moving a little too fast, flying through the air, but then kind of legendarily getting up, scraping herself off, and moving on forward with her life. When I was a kid, my elementary school was right near the landfill in Port Washington, and my mother noticed that there were these stories popping up about like safety hazards and like methane explosions happening in nearby homes to the elementary school, and she was like, seems like something should be done about that. And she just realized like she could do it. She taught me from a young age that if you see a problem, you better also have a solution. She would always say, "Craig, you know me, I've got the balls of an elephant." She really did and does have this sense of, why not? Why can't I make a difference? I'd just like to finish by saying, congrats, Mom. You do have the balls of an elephant and an even bigger heart, and you've spent your life trying to make a difference and doing cool work in what you believe in, and I think me and your grandkids and a lot of people in your life appreciate that and feel lucky to know you. So congrats.
When I first met Mike Blumenfeld, founder of Residents for a More Beautiful Port Washington, his successor, Mindy Germain, was probably in grade school. Mike and I worked on many projects together, and when my son Craig was a senior in high school, Mike hired him for the summer. So our connections with residents go deep. On a windy March day in 1976, when we moved into our home at the very end of Highland Avenue in the park section, I decided to look over the edge of what I found out were the Port Washington sand pits. Our section had just recently been mined, and it looked like a moonscape. not a blade of grass, and a 150-foot drop down to what is now Harbor Links. I was terrified, sure that my little boy would tumble to his death, especially in that the chain link fence along the perimeter had a gaping hole through which you could have driven a Volkswagen. Soon a notice arrived announcing a Park Civic Association meeting. I went to it, certain that most residents in the park section would be there. 7 people were there. Maybe some of you know the dangers of going to a local meeting, because it is almost inevitable that you will soon be asked to be its president. And of course, that's what happened. And that was the beginning of what I now call my chronic volunteerism. It was in that role that I first heard about a landfill just south of the park section that was causing real problems with methane gas leaking into and causing explosions in many homes. By then, I had convinced my dear friend Barth Healy to be the president of the Park Civic Association because I had already joined, volunteered for the League of Women Voters in Port Washington as their Natural Resources Environmental Chairperson. As such, I convinced the League's leadership to appoint me as their representative on North Hempstead's new Citizens Advisory Committee to work on what became a 3-year-long battle to get the landfill site on the federal Superfund list, which it ultimately did get, and ultimately it got resolved. On that committee, I met Mike Blumenfeld, Kurt Trinko, Bob Udelman, and so many other wonderful volunteers from residents. Mike even convinced me to run for Water Pollution Control Commissioner. I lost that race, and in a way, I guess I'm glad I did, because then I decided I would go back to school and get my English teaching degree. I became an English teacher and spent the next 13 years teaching in inner city schools, a job I truly loved. When I retired in 2005, almost instantly my volunteering gene clicked in, and I spent the next 7 years as the president of the League of Women Voters of Port Washington, Manhasset. More recently, my volunteering is spent as a member of a group called Water for Long Island, headed by the intrepid Sarah Mayland. Sarah and I go way back to that Citizens Advisory Committee, these many years ago. She is, in a word, awesome in terms of her efforts to resolve the very real problems with Long Island's water. I also work with Nassau County League of Women Voters, and for several years I volunteered, of course, as an ESOL tutor at the Port Washington Library. There's no doubt about it. I was born with a volunteering gene, and it's still alive and well. I cannot thank residents enough for honoring me in this way. My first shout out goes to Mindy Germain, who started this honoring business. She now has branched out with a sparkling new environmental thing called Echo Leap. It already has an important client, so Mindy is off and running. I wish her so much luck, and of course, I told her I would volunteer to help her whenever she needs me. In terms of these kind words from Sarah, who is my hero, Franny Furtado, my fellow water warrior, who is my hope really for the future, and my son Craig, who is the joy of my life. Thank you all. I will treasure your words forever. And thanks to the new executive director of Residents Forward, Trish Class, who has done all the work to make this happen under the duress of the pandemic. I wish you as much success as Mindy had in doing this job. All in all, we are so fortunate to live in a superb town with superb people running superb organizations like Residents Forward. I hope you all join me in praise of all they do. Thank you for this lovely honor.
Our honorees' videos were so inspiring. The common thread among them is that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Jane was inspired to become an advocate by what she saw in her backyard. Judi began her journey to supervisor when she volunteered on her local school board. And Dawn's love of Port Washington grew into a career and a lifetime of volunteerism. Take these 3 stories and let them inspire you to take that single step. Volunteer, spread kindness, serve your community. It's never too late to start.
We never imagined that our lives would be so different. Living through COVID, the shutdowns, isolation, and extreme stress and sadness that many have experienced. If anything, all of this has only strengthened our focus on beautifying, protecting, and advocating for the place we call home. I want to thank my fabulous co-host, Marianne Delamonte, the very talented Marcy Pasley and Kevin Scully. Thank you to the Residents Forward Board of Directors and our Gala Committee, chaired by co-president Melissa Vesicchio. And of course, Karen Alavey, our Director of Operations. I want to give a very special thank you to the visionary of this celebration, Mindy Germain. And I want to also take a moment to give a very special shout out to our chairman of the board and founding member, Kurt Trinko. We love you, Kurt. Let's raise our glasses and toast our honorees, Judi, Dawn, and Jane. As we move through 2021, our work will be dedicated in your honor. In closing, we hope we have engaged, excited, and inspired you to support our work. We can't move forward without you behind us and hope to see you in person very soon. Good night.